I'm Trish Toby with WARC reporting to you live from Westchester, New York, where there appears to be some sort of mutant menace on the loose.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Oh, fuck, I fucked it up. It's supposed to be...
Did you?
Hi everybody, I'm Matt Ockamp.
And I'm Pat Reber.
And say it with us, Pete.
Pete,
welcome
to Mutant Menace. You gotta watch my mouth.
Okay. Alright, well, we'll do it better next time.
Yeah. We'll try again next time. Thank you, listener Pete, for emailing us the word Pete.
Speaking of emails, Pat, before I asked you about your week, do we have any do we have anything for Pat's email corner?
Pat's email corner? Pause for music?
We don't have. Okay, maybe we have some. Who knows?
We do have one from regular emailer Michael, our biggest emailing fan to date. Michael says, "Hey Pat, tell Matt congratulations on getting the opening to the episode right."
Fuck, Michael's gonna be so disappointed in us.
Yeah, we haven't gotten it right since, have we?
Shit, okay. Well, thanks, Michael.
And that's Pat's email corner.
Alright, well, Pat, how was your week? Did you do anything X-Men related?
I'm going to answer those as separate questions. Number one, my week was pretty good. Number two, sort of. I sort of did something X-Men related this week.
Whoa, okay.
Matt, do you remember, and this is just, I did some reminiscing and went down a bit of a rabbit hole myself. Do you remember Canada Wolverine? He was a cosplayer that we both fell in love with around like 2013, 2014 on Instagram.
Yeah, and then I think he passed away at like early COVID. He
did, yeah. He passed away in 2021, which was unfortunate. But I was just thinking about, like, he popped into my head. I went to his Instagram and just looked through some old posts. Really want to just appreciate this man, a guy who was in Canada and had his photograph taken everywhere as Wolverine. And he had the hair better than I've seen any cosplay. Like, it was so natural. So I hope he doesn't mind us mentioning that we always admired him and were honestly too intimidated to invite him on one of our comedy shows. We really wanted to and never had the courage to.
Yeah. I don't know anything about this man, but I loved his passion for it. One of the things that I loved so much about Canada Wolverine was that he seemed to take the whole endeavor just very seriously.
Yeah.
Which he was rules.
And I don't, like, it wasn't a time where that was profitable. This is before you could make money for being popular online. He was just doing it for the love of the game. And he was very passionate about it. He really did his research. And
he was always doing collabs.
Yeah. This guy was hustling. And again, just for the love of the game.
And I always wondered what his hair looked like just as he walked around. I don't think he ever posted a picture of himself out of costume.
I haven't seen it. If he did, I don't think I would want to see it.
Right.
I want to remember him as Wolverine.
You know, that's a very X-Men-y week for you.
It is. Yeah, it's a thing I thought about. There's a commercial for a new show, Destination X, which is very exciting. I did not know they were making a new X-Men show. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is playing some sort of madman. He's kidnapping people and leaving them in places that presumably are mutants. They're not revealing much about it, so I'm very excited to start watching it.
What channel's that on?
NBC. They love the X-Men over on NBC.
So check that out. Destination X. It's a brand new X-Men show.
Maybe they'll sponsor us. Pretty good ad read. Matt, did you do anything X-Men related this week?
I wish I had. I didn't. I don't think I did. I didn't look at any particularly interesting X-Men Instagrams. I didn't see any new X-Men shows. I'm sorry.
It's getting tougher, right? To find X-Men related things that we did this week that aren't just reading the X-Men.
Well, I'll say this. Okay, I did one X-Men related thing this week. I'm a step closer to my anthropology degree, much like Bolivar Trask.
Yes. How about it?
I'm in my last semester.
What was Moira McTaggart's major?
Biology, I'm guessing?
Was it biology? It was not anthropology?
No, it couldn't possibly have been anthropology. Genetics. She worked in genetics.
Genetics.
You would have to have a biology degree to work in genetics, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
She's probably had
or chemistry, maybe?
If she worked in genetics, she probably had some sort of anthropology training too. Right? Like she probably took like evolution courses.
Yeah, you have to understand how it interacts with, or how it's affected by culture, right? Or no, maybe that's the defining thing about genetics, is that it's not impacted by culture.
Correct.
Who knows? The world may never know.
I guess you could be socially selected. I guess social factors would lead into, like, if they kill everybody who's born with red hair before those people get to breed, then you're going to affect the genetics of people's hair color.
Sure. Yeah, the social impact on genetics just from survival standpoint.
Yeah. Well, also just like who gets to breed, right?
And we're not encouraging anyone to do this.
No.
This is eugenics.
That is
and we
exactly
do not
what.
Yeah,
that's what that's called.
Podcast.
So, Pat.
Yeah.
You know what I did this week, though?
You just talked about it.
I read roughly 5 issues of the X-Men.
Oh, I'm sorry you had such a tough time with it.
I roughly read 5 issues of the X-Men.
I was in a Jeep.
I wondered if you wanted me to tell you about issue 58, Mission Murder.
I do. I'll tell you, I think I read this one too, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I'm going to just describe. I don't think I could tell you my thoughts unless I describe the entire
plot. Give me a brief refresh my memory on what happens in issue 58.
Okay, will do. This was released on May 13th, 1969. It is edited by Stan Lee, written by Roy Thomas, art by Neal Adams, our boy, inked by Tom Palmer, lettered by Artie Simek. And all right, everybody sit back. Grab yourselves a drink. A lot happens in this issue.
Yeah, this one's packed.
I kind of think reading this issue would take about the same amount of time as me describing it, but it's better when I describe it, so just listen. Last issue ended with Beast and Iceman sitting in Scott Summers' apartment watching a news report while a robot figure lurked outside watching them. A moment later, at the start of this issue, a newly forged Sentinel bursts in, grabbing Beast with its tentacles. In an amazing 2-page spread, scattered shots of the TV news broadcast that Bobby and Hank were watching, they give us the backstory, while in frantic panels slicing across both pages, Bobby and Hank fight for their lives against an emotionless, rampaging Sentinel.
Sorry, this is breathtaking. Opening spread, and then this 2-page spread of diagonal panels with the newscaster. Yeah. This is like 10 years before Frank Miller is really making a name for himself. They're doing what Frank Miller did to make a name for himself. This is an incredible adjustment. Sorry, I'm in awe. I don't know if that's clear.
No, I mean it's really good. You see, and the fight has a logic from one panel to the other. You know, in the first panel, Beast snaps the cable that's holding him. In the next panel, Iceman freezes the hand and you could see where the cable was snapped off on the Sentinel's hand. Then he smashes through the ice and chases Iceman and then hits him with steam out of his fingers. It's really, and all the while, Bobby and Hank aren't talking. They're not narrating what they're doing.
Right. They are just fighting for their lives.
Larry Trask is on TV yelling about how much he hates mutants, and it's giving you either through analogy or just like him directly describing what the Sentinels can do. It's showing what's happening it's describing what's happening in the panels.
Ugh. So good.
It's really good. So we learn through the news broadcasts that Larry Trask, son of the late anthropologist Bolivar Trask, who invented the Sentinels and died at their hand way back in issues 14 through 16, has continued his father's work, fueled by a desire for revenge against the X-Men and all mutants. With the authority of a single U.S. judge, Judge Chalmers, Trask has unleashed these Sentinels on mutants worldwide, and to prevent his father's mistake, he's created a helmet that allows him mental control over the Sentinels' actions. Bobby retrieves a communication device and throws it to Beast, freezing the tentacles that hold him, allowing Beast to smash the brittle cables and escape. Staying behind to hold the Sentinel off, Iceman urges Hank to go and call the other X-Men. So he does, just as Iceman is hauled off into the sky by the Sentinel. Guys, that's the first 6 pages.
Yeah, there's still a whole lot to go.
And it just moves, man. Scott, Jean, and Angel receive the call in Egypt, where they're still looking for a missing Alex Summers. Incensed by the capture of Iceman, Warren decides he's going to fly all the way back to Manhattan from Egypt, despite Scott and Jean's protests. On his way home, he gets caught in a net, of course, by 2 Sentinels, as Scott and Jean watch helpless from a speeding jet carrying them home.
Scott says, the Sentinels will make mincemeat of you. Nobody respects Warren's abilities. And with good reason, he gets caught within... Sorry, you keep going.
No, he does. You're right. Before he makes it across the ocean, he gets caught in a net. The thing he gets caught in, he still hasn't come up with a solution to nets.
Everybody knows.
And he
net.
says...
Just throw a net at this guy.
As he's being caught, he's like, some kind of steel net? Like, he's surprised by it every time.
He doesn't even hate them. He's confounded by them, which is probably why he keeps flying directly into them.
At Trask's new Sentinel base, Iceman has been depowered for a number of hours by some kind of steam bath. Judge Chalmers is getting cold feet, so Trask releases Bobby to show how he will instantly attack him. This demonstrates on camera Trask's thesis that all mutants are inherently violent and dangerous. A depowered Bobby is then tossed into a cell where Lorna Dane is unconscious, and another man in a jet black costume and a horrible mask, like helmet hat thing, is standing. That man is Alex Summers, now known by
Havok.
Havok's here.
Should have gone with Danger.
Should have gone with weird hat. Man. No, that's not good. You're right. You should have gone with Danger. This is the thing. I cut away to look at his hat to see if I could, in some way, describe it.
Nope.
You know, like, I feel like, describe Havok's hat.
I was trying to prepare myself to answer this question, Matt. I don't think I can. It is 3 bands of metal coming off his forehead. If we consider, like, if we draw a line from ear to ear and consider that our starting line, I would say like 60 degrees, 90 degrees, 120 degrees coming off, centered on his forehead.
If his face is a clock, the bands are at 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 2 o'clock.
Just like driving a car.
It reminds me of the path that electrons and protons take around the nucleus of an atom.
Right, but cut in half.
Right. Yes. In reality, he has taken 3 metal, just strips of metal, and bended them back over his head.
Yeah.
Floating in the air above his head. Okay, anyway.
It's a device.
His costume was acquired in a deal made with Larry Trask to control his chaotic powers. As he and Bobby argue about this deal, a Sentinel peeks in like a child into a dollhouse and grabs Lorna. Realizing Trask's treachery. Havok lets loose and fucks the Sentinel right up in a spectacular display of power. Yeah. A moment later, however, he falls to the ground powerless due to a gem in his bad hat that Trask controls with a little laser gun. Havok is worried that his powerlessness will repower Professor Abdul, the living monolith, once again, but Trask just laughs.
He doesn't believe in the living monolith.
Cut to Egypt, where Abdul is trying to convince a boardroom to kill the X-Men when he feels the monolith power flowing back into him. He begins to monologue, like he loves to do, when two Sentinels cover him in goo, blocking him from his cosmic rays, leaving him helpless on the floor.
Matt, I hate to keep interrupting your recap here, but presumably this is just the board of the college that he works at that he's trying to sell on killing the X-Men.
I don't know. He's at the head of the table, and there's a bunch of other guys in like fezzes around the table.
Well, yeah, it's that's in the 60s. That's how you identified somebody as being from Egypt.
And they're all they're just sitting in a boardroom, and he's like, "We've got to destroy the X-Men."
And the rest of them are like, "This is not reasonable for us."
and then he starts to grow and monologue, and then he gets covered in goo. Now he looks like the fucking jerk off guy from Pompeii.
That picture is plastered all over our notes.
If anyone hasn't seen it, there's a man that, as Pompeii was getting covered in lava and ash, presumably, all right, there's some scientific explanation that makes this less fun, but
they're trying to cover it up.
It looks like he was like, I'm about to die anyway. I'm going to lay back and start jerking it. And then he got frozen in that position.
So I took in a lecture once, and I can't credit the person because I would never remember who they are. But they did talk about, that specific picture is pretty debatable. You could say that, like, some scientists have dug into it and said, no, this is not actually a man J-ing-O, but that might be just trying to calm the crowds down about it.
Okay, right.
But regardless, Pompeii was apparently a haven for debauchery. The things that they have uncovered that are very definitively exploring sexuality in very unique and seemingly fun ways.
Was that the place where was Pompeii the one where there was penis mosaics all over the town?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's unknown whether that was directing people to brothels, or whether it was just funny, or whether it had something to do with like fertility, or they don't know.
Yeah, but there were penises everywhere in Pompeii, like just as decorations.
Just like you would be walking around Pompeii, you could count. You could go on a penis scavenger hunt and fill your little stone tablet.
Yeah.
So let's get back to Trask. He's continuing to round up mutants like Mesmero in the Mutant City, who is confused why only one Sentinel was sent for both him and the supremely powerful Magneto. That doesn't make sense. Fearing for his life, Mesmero cowers behind Magneto, only to see him smashed to bits. Because, I guess, Magneto was a robot the whole time?
What the hell, man?
What the fuck? Yeah, it doesn't make... Who made the robot?
Why did this robot falsely declare himself Lorna's father?
Right. And how did this robot do magnet stuff?
Maybe he's been a robot the whole time. And this is the end of Magneto. Magneto, the android, secret android.
And if we ever see a Magneto again in the comics, which we probably won't, but if we ever see a Magneto again, it's like a completely new guy that we've never seen before.
Watch the Sentinel smash him to bits. In my opinion, Magneto is finally dead.
So, Mesmero basically starts crying about how he never actually knew Magneto, and the Sentinels pick him up by the cape like a total dork. At Trask's base, the Sentinels keep warning of a mutant in their vicinity, which is hard to detect. But Trask assumes it's just Beast, who he's prepared for, and rushes off to meet a visiting Judge Chalmers. When Chalmers sees that Trask has been keeping the mutants in stasis tubes, he begins to beg Trask to reconsider. Trask tearfully tells the story of his father's death and recounts that on his last day alive, Bolivar gave his son an amulet and told him to never, ever take it off under any circumstances, which I'm sure is not foreshadowing, just a sweet little moment. Just then, motherfucking Banshee bursts in, Pat. years, shattering a fucking Sentinel with his sonic scream. All screams are sonic, but just as quickly gets himself incapacitated by another Sentinel. Fuming with anger at the attack, Trask orders the Sentinels to round up and kill all mutants within the area, which makes Chalmers punch this nerd in the face and rip his stupid amulet off. Immediately, Trask is grabbed by a Sentinel, and it is revealed that the nearby mutant presence was himself!
Whoa.
Did you see that coming?
No. Honestly did not. I was so taken by Judge Chalmers just wailing on this guy.
Yeah, just a big fucking sucker punch.
Which needed to be done. This guy was ranting. It is straight up hate speech. Like, it is a little disturbing to read through just because it's so... it's taken straight from these racist manifestos.
Right.
It's very reminiscent of, I think, the Nazis' attitude towards Jews. I think that's a big source for their hate material here, and just the general like propaganda plan to expose mutants as violent killers.
Right. Even to the extent that he sets them up. He sets Bobby up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I just did something horrible to this guy. If I turn on the cameras now and this guy comes and attacks me, it'll look like he's just engaging in a random act of violence.
It's kind of a cop-out that he gets hit in the head real hard and then he's like, oh, I've been a racist all this time.
I know.
For shame.
For like the next 2 issues, he's like, oh, I never wanted to kill mutants. Yes, you did. You just said it.
I think he's using that as an excuse. Yeah. At some point, he's like, oh, I'm in way too deep here, but I think I have to kill them.
The Sentinels themselves, they look amazing, right?
Yes.
They looked kind of dorky back in the Kirby days, right? They were kind of...
Except for the butts.
They were blocky. They had beautiful butts. And they had vaguely humanoid faces. In this, those faces just look so scary and cold and emotionless. The Sentinels look gigantic. Well, sometimes. There's still a little bit... Neal Adams is incredible. But there's still some of these moments where you're like, that one Sentinel was like 5 times the size of all the other people. This other Sentinel is like fitting through a doorway.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we were saying it last episode, but he's not as concerned about the realism here. He's concerned, like, he is using scale to build intimidation, and it doesn't have to be realistic.
Pat, how cool was it when Banshee appeared?
Very cool. I did not know he was going to pop up because, when they're like, oh yeah, we have these 10 mutants all rounded up in tubes, you're like, okay, they've got, I guess, all the mutants. And then, Banshee just pops in, and I love that every time we see him, this seems to be his MO, is like, he is living his life, he's smoking his tobacco pipe, and popping in whenever things get real bad for the X-Men.
Right.
One more thing that's pretty intimidating about these Sentinels, they've got quips now.
Yeah?
They are talking back to the X-Men. A Sentinel's trying to kidnap Hank, and Hank says, you better tell your friend Trask that he's out of his mind. And the Sentinel says, you can inform him yourself, as he goes to knock Hank out and kidnap him and take him to Trask. That's, for a soulless android, that's a level of wit that didn't need to be programmed in there.
Though it'd be less impressive if that was just Trask saying it through the helmet.
That's true.
We don't know for certain it's not.
It's unclear which is the Sentinel and which is Trask controlling the Sentinel. Here's the thing that makes them a little less intimidating, and I kind of mentioned it already, but you know what I tune in for. Cake. And there is none on these Sentinels. They do have skinny little legs. Like, they are... They look more like track stars than shot putters. That's true.
But the X-Men look buff as hell throughout the whole issue.
Yes.
You get shirtless Bobby. You get like Bobby in his underwear, de-iced several times.
And his booties.
You get a close-up of his butt as he crawls towards Lorna.
You get a few good shots of Warren. I think Neal Adams is doing really well is accenting the muscles that he assumes you would use to fly. So when Warren is like in flight, you see those muscles being flexed, and you see the bulk that he has.
Right.
They do look big as hell.
Yeah. They've gotten bigger. So needless to say, this issue is great.
Yes.
I mean, there's some ridiculous shit about it because it's X-Men, but very few complaints about this one. I mean, I still do not understand why they had to do that with Magneto. They could have just captured him, right?
I don't understand where you're coming from with that.
Why did the writers need to make Magneto into an android?
Yeah. Why
retcon now like that whole story? Like, why?
I think we'll find out in a couple issues why they didn't want him to be where he is.
That's a good point, but you could have just left him out of it.
Yeah. Let's talk about that more when we
when we
get there.
Get where?
Get to a surprise.
Oh, okay. I mean, I love surprises. Do you want to
wait till you see this one? One last note I want to make about this that I think was important.
Okay.
The editors or the narrator refers to Lorna as Bobby's mutant girl space friend. Very intentionally not putting girlfriend in there, which is a subtle touch that will pay off perhaps in issue 59. Do or die.
What?
You almost got me.
What almost got you? What?
Somebody has edited the titles that I put down in these notes. I don't think issue 59 is called Do or Die, bitch.
I think that's what it says in the comic. Hold on, let me look. It says Do or Die. Oh.
What does it actually say? Because now I can't remember the real title.
It's Do or Die, baby.
Do or Die, baby. Released June 17th, 1969. Cover date August 1969. We are in the summer of 69.
Yeah.
Isn't that exciting, Matt? Do you want to pull up the Wikipedia for summer of 69 and we can read through it?
No. I remember all about summer of 69. It's when I got my first real 6-string.
There you go. Yeah, that summer. Edited by Stan Lee.
I played it till my fingers bled. You knew this.
Anything else you want to mention about the summer of 69?
No. I just want to say, all I wanted to do is tell you, like, I had a band and we tried real hard.
Yeah, it was the summer of 69.
That summer seemed to last forever.
This issue
of my life.
Credits Stan Lee as editor, Roy Thomas as scripter, Neal Adams as artist, Tom Palmer as embellisher, which I assume means inker, and Sam Rosen as letterer.
Okay.
Opening up the issue, we have Beast, Marvel Girl, and Cyclops together again, having just located the secret Sentinel base using a mini Cerebro. Though Beast realizes at the last moment that the blip appeared too suddenly and it must have been a trap. Their ship explodes and the three plummet to Earth. Scott devises a plan to save them all by directing Jean on how to use her telekinesis. But because of no time for that now, Hank and Jean think he's allowing Hank to die. But he's not. They all live.
Yeah.
Inside the base, Trask is trying to argue with the Sentinels, but learns from Judge Chalmers that he's always been a mutant with the power to tell the future. When Larry foretold his mother's death, his father Bolivar fashioned the amulet to suppress his mutant ability and hide him. Now that the Sentinels know that he's a mutant, they won't listen to him and will only carry out his last order: kill all mutants. Across the world, I'm sorry, but we'll get to it. Across the world, the Sentinels have captured Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Toad,
Okay,
Blob.
all right. You don't have to call me out like this, Pat. Yes, you're right. Fine. Yes, Toad's in this issue. I was wrong. There's one more appearance of Toad. It's fine.
Literally an appearance. They don't give him a line.
He doesn't have a single line. Okay, go ahead.
Toad, Earnest, Blob, and Mastermind, and are in the process of transporting all these mutants as they see an incredibly powerful presence right on top of them. They're too late, though, as Cyclops, Jean, and Beast have just skirted the cliff face and broken into the far side of the lab. The Sentinel they discover there, unprepared for their powers, gets straight up murked with a cool combination of their powers and devastating optic blast. As they wrap up, they find that another Sentinel is bringing Quicksilver, Toad, and Scarlet Witch in a big green floppy jet that looks like a manta ray.
That's true. Or like a lady's hat, maybe.
Yeah, it's like a hot dog cut in half with little feet on it. The X-Men sneak in, and Cyclops tells the Brotherhood folks that he has a plan. Moments later, the Sentinel checks in on his prisoners, and bam! Toad rocks the dude in the fucking face because it's not Toad, it's Beast. Scott apparently made them all get naked and switch clothes so no one would be prepared for the damn X-Men.
The scene that we don't see, where Scott says, "Hey, we have a plan. No time for that now. Take all of your clothes off."
Yes.
As he's stripping, because he's already got the plan and he knows there's no time
he's already working it out.
So his like dick and butter out, and he's like, "Get your clothes off, Scarlet Witch and Toad."
Imagine Toad naked.
I bet he's rocking something real impressive down there.
No, it's got to be weird, right? Like the way that his skin hangs off his body. I have to imagine it does that everywhere. And yeah, maybe he's got a big dick if that's...
it's just like
I think that's what you're saying.
Rocking boner with skin, when it's fully hard, their skin just like hanging from it. Like a chicken's waddle.
Yes.
Or like the floppy neck of a brontosaurus. You know how that its skin just kind of like hangs off of its neck?
Is that real? Is that what happens with brontosaurus? Or are you doing like a Jack Kirby interpretation of brontosaurus?
Okay, I'm just pulled up a brontosaurus and it doesn't have the floppy skin. I swear I've seen a picture of brontosaurus where the skin was kind of hanging.
Okay, Matt.
I swear I saw. You gotta believe me.
Dressed as Scarlet Witch, Toad, and Quicksilver, respectively, Jean, Hank, and Scott tear their way through a few Sentinels like real superheroes, eventually making their way to the stasis chambers. Meanwhile, Trask has been locked in a stasis chamber himself, and it has a future vision of Havok dying. Not wanting mutant blood on his conscience.
What?
At this point, I guess. He tries to...
What does he mean? Yes, he does. That was his whole thing. Okay, go ahead.
No, he doesn't anymore. He tries to give Judge Chalmers a little gun that he has on a table using his eyes and then guides him to Havok. Chalmers is like, "No, dude, I'm not going to shoot this guy," but eventually gets it and uses this little device to deactivate the crystal on Alex's forehead. Then he leaps in front of a Sentinel burst and gets blasted to save Cyclops. Cyclops frees Havok, and then Havok blasts some Sentinel to robot hell. The Sentinels are all having a crisis of conscience themselves because they killed a human man. Cyclops takes advantage of this to confuse them even more and literally convinces them to fly into the fucking sun.
He does. What?
Flawless logic. That's how he defeats them.
We're gonna talk about this, but yeah.
Since mutants are created by radiation, he convinces the Sentinels to find the source of all radiation and destroy it. The Sentinels think for a moment and go, "Oh, that's the sun," and all go die in space trying to defeat the sun. Meanwhile, Havok had built up too much energy and had to run off to explode, which buried him in rubble, and now the X-Men need a doctor. So they call a guy called Lycos, who's calmly talking to them on the phone while he seemingly kills a man with a strange device.
So this issue, much like the last issue, kicked ass until these last like 2 panels, which I also still kind of kick ass, but they are so bizarre. What happens is you say, because this isn't what I wrote in the summary, you say that Chalmers jumps in front of the Sentinel blast to save Cyclops. I don't know that Cyclops was unprepared. He's facing it. He's ready to blast. And Judge Chalmers is just like, no, blast me.
Sure. Try not to pull back the curtain, Matt.
That happens. Then all the Sentinels are upset. So, okay. Man, seemingly for no reason, jumps in front of a blast. The Sentinels all start talking to themselves about how why did we do this? Then Cyclops is like, yeah, why did you do it? And also you should go fight the sun. And they say, okay, fly off into the sun. And then Havok is going, I have too much, and runs off to explode. He's like, I'm going to go explode for a second. And then they call a doctor on the phone.
Yeah, they just call up a doctor.
Like, this is how this really epic 2-part story ends. With this series of absolutely absurd moments.
Okay, so here's why I think this works. Because the Sentinels are using an insane logic. Okay. They are, I think, once again, overwhelmed by bureaucracy, where they have rebelled against their commander. They've mutinied because they found out that their commander was a mutant. So the only thing they're capable of doing, this is how they explain it, is following the final order of the commander that they just mutinied against. There's no reason to do it. If you what command are you releasing yourself of? If that's so, I think when Scott is like, well, logically, you don't want to kill us. You want to go after the source, and they decide on the sun. That seems like, in their very flawed robot logic, the right step to take. I think it works out because they're just not that bright.
Okay, well, Pat, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Did we evolve into human beings because of the sun?
Yes. I'm sure it played some part.
You're right. If we didn't have the sun, we would have evolved into something that was
vampires.
Yeah, capable of seeing in the dark, or something that was capable of withstanding very cold temperatures, or capable of not eating because all energy comes from the sun. But the sun didn't alter our RNA.
Sure. But, well, okay, so here's where I got a little scared when Scott specifically says, mutants are created by radiation. You want to go destroy the source, the prime source of radiation on Earth.
Right.
I thought they were going to go start attacking nuclear power plants. I thought Scott took a huge gamble by just hoping they settled on something that would destroy them and only them.
Right, like they could have just gone and destroyed, they could have just blown up all the nuclear bombs and nuclear power plants, and they could have just
just created an apocalypse.
Yeah.
Instead.
So, do you know who takes credit for this plot point?
No.
At the time, Chris Claremont, future writer of the X-Men, was an intern at Marvel. And he claims, I think it was in that documentary. Oh, it might have been on Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, their interview with him. But anyway, he has claimed in interviews that he was just like an intern kicking around, and some people were discussing this moment. And it was him who suggested this Cyclops gambit.
Okay. I mean, it does see. So this happens in the last couple of pages. It seems like they really needed an out that could take place in just a few panels.
And Claremont does do crazy bullshit like that all the time.
Yeah, that's fair. He goes pretty extreme sometimes.
Yes. And comes up with these really convoluted like logical reasons for people to do the craziest thing you've ever heard.
They also, just before we get too far from this Sentinel logic problem, the X-Men breach the facility, run into a Sentinel, and that Sentinel goes, "What do I do? I'm not equipped for a Cyclops." Like, what? You don't even try?
Yeah, I know. It just dies. It just lets itself die.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, oh, I'm not equipped for these guys. One of them just hits a bunch. Oh, that's all Beast does. He just hits a lot.
Yeah. Are you not equipped for?
Oh, I'm not equipped
small
for
man
hitting. And like, if that Sentinel ran into me and you, he's like, oh, I'm equipped for super speed. I'm defenseless against these two middle-aged overweight men.
That being said, the plan, Cyclops' plan here is actually pretty solid. Understanding that they are all tailored to a specific mutant power and are rendered helpless against others.
It's so funny because they're just running down the halls and Sentinels will be like, ah, I know these costumes. I'm prepared for super speed and probability altering. And then it's telekinesis and optic beams. And they're like, what?
Yeah, it's telekinesis.
There is a really dope panel, though, of Jean dressed as Scarlet Witch using her telekinesis. And it's in like vibrant psychedelic technicolor.
Yeah. Neal Adams continues to play with what psychic and telekinetic manifestation should look like to...
Yeah.
He's making it very clear just through his drawing that this isn't actually like nobody's seeing this happen. I am doing this to illustrate to you that there is a force being used here.
Right. Also, gotta love Cyclops running around in Quicksilver's outfit.
It's so
it kind of suits him.
It looks good on him. It is skin tight, like even tighter than his normal costume. Which look, Scott's got the body to pull it off.
Yeah.
And also we're seeing the visor and that beautiful head of hair.
Yeah.
Together for the first time. It's really, it's a good look.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's got a beautiful head of hair.
He's got a really good head of hair. Hey, Pat.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Sentinel? Is it C6? Is it R7?
There's one that they just keep calling number 2.
Is it number 2? Is that your favorite?
Number 2 is he's intimidating. He's the big boss. Seems to be the new master mold, just in the sense that he's the one that everyone has to check with before they can do their jobs.
I like to go for an underdog. I'm a big fan of C6, who got out of his weird little melting turtle looking fucking hover car and left his prisoners alone, and then came back and was like, oh, everything's fine here, and then just gets absolutely beaten to hell because it's not his prisoners.
He has an internal monologue about what he should do and whether it logically makes more sense to leave his prisoners alone and investigate whatever threat or to stay by them.
I like to imagine C6 just got knocked out, and so when everybody flies off to their death, he's just laying there. And eventually gets up, he's like, what happened?
I like to think number 2 is one of the original Sentinels left over from when they all just had numbers.
Yeah.
And they're depending on his experience fighting the X-Men.
I never told you to follow me. You guys made me a leader. Just like says Scott's exact.
So, yeah.
From
we get a
8-ish.
We get a real good Roy Thomasism here, which is one of the Sentinels saying, "Observe the Monitron."
Why
just
does
a TV
it need
screen.
to be a Tron? It can just be a monitor. Oh man, that scene though. Why did they not do Toad this way? That scene where, so I also don't really get this. They put on weighted boots.
Yeah.
So that Toad couldn't jump. But somehow when Beast puts them on himself, he can still just like bounce around and shit.
Well, logically, as it should be, Hank's power doesn't come from his feet. It comes from his thighs and his core. Are they suggesting that Toad's leaping power is in his toes?
He's got no muscles. Like, that's what it seems like they're saying. He's got no muscles. His legs just spring, I guess. It's not about muscles. That the only reason Toad's able to leap the way he does is because he weighs 16 pounds.
He's got hollow, spongy, springy bones.
And no organs. But when Beast leaps out of this, Nickelodeon ooze car, he just like grabs the top of it and swings his feet up, and it's like, that would be cool if Toad did it.
Yeah, well, Toad, as a rule, cannot be cool.
Toad cannot do actually anything.
One cool thing, I'm being serious about this.
Okay, please.
In the last issue in 58, we get a few shots of the X-Men doing something, right? They're traveling in a plane, they're climbing a cliff wall. It's all through, it's Jean, Scott, and Hank. It's all through the Sentinels monotrons that they're watching this happen. And then we get to this issue and we see these things happen. And it's like, it's a sort of a different take. Like, it's not shot for shot the same thing happening, but these 2 issues are kind of running concurrently for a little while, where we're seeing the Sentinel side of it and then the Jean, Scott, and Hank side of it. Just a neat little detail that they very deliberately included.
That is cool. It's cool that they're making choices, I think. That's the thing that's making these issues really stand out, is that there are very deliberate choices being made. They're thinking through what would be cool and doing it, rather than just, I gotta knock out another one of these fucking X-Men issues.
Yeah. They are in it. And we'll talk about this a little later, but Roy Thomas gets it these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So now what we're left with is this question. Carl Lycos? Who's that?
Yeah,
what was he friggin' doing? Well, do you want to know who Carl Lycos is?
I guess.
Well, then we will have to check out issue 60, In the Shadow of Sauron. Released July 15th, 1969. Edited by Stan Lee. Written by Roy Thomas. Drawn by Neal Adams. Inked by Tom Palmer. Lettered by Sam Rosen. We open on the same man we saw at the end of last issue, Dr. Lycos, menacing over an unconscious man and seemingly absorbing some sort of life force out of him. We cut to the aftermath of last issue's Sentinel battle. Superintendent Chalmers. Sorry, Judge Chalmers is
a little joke in the recap notes there.
Hey, thanks. Is assuring Scott he'll keep Trask and the evil mutants under control, and he promises not to kill them. He's got the medallion back on. Everything will be fine. Scott and the X-Men steal a floppy manta jet and head out for Dr. Lycos as fast as possible. He's a physician. He's an old colleague of Professor Xavier's. We can trust this man. He's just finishing up an appointment with another patient who is thrilled with the easing of his pain after undergoing Lycos's hypnosis therapy treatment. He says, "I don't know what you're doing to me, but it's sure curing that hypertension of mine." The X-Men leave Alex with the doctor, being told they cannot wait around and must return much later that night to pick him up. With the whole old team around, remember, the X-Men are technically broken up right now. Scott and Jean return to the mansion to check things out. Lorna has joined them. Classic Danger Room hijinks ensue, with Lorna even getting in on the action. It's kind of like the boys are doing Danger Room stuff, and the girls are like pranking them from the side.
Yeah. It's great. It really is harkening back to like the early X-Men issues where they're just for half the issue goofing off in the Danger Room and then somebody gets hurt.
Right, like try to put Beast in anaphylactic shock over his sawdust allergy.
Sawdust allergy, that's what it was.
Back at Dr. Lycos' office, Alex is unconscious while the doctor fights some vague internal moral battle that leads him to recount a defining core memory. As a child, he and his father, as well as Herr Anderson...
Matt, that's German for Mr. Anderson.
This is Fast Facts with Pat. And his daughter Tanya are trekking through the mountain range of Tierra del Fuego, which is apparently in like way South America near Antarctica. Tanya goes missing. Lycos goes to find her and runs into pterodactyls. He battles them, gets pretty scratched up in the process, but rescues Tanya. He becomes very ill and has the worst nightmares of his life. He pets his dog, but he finds himself absorbing that dog's life energy. Suddenly, he's feeling much better. He continued living his life, just occasionally stealing the life force of an injured person. He falls in love with Tanya, but Herr Anderson bans Tanya from ever seeing him again because Lycos was not a rich man. Back to the present, Lycos reveals that he was just using Xavier to get access to mutants, believing them to be the key to giving him enough life force to sustain his hunger. He absorbs Alex's power and suddenly transforms into a pterodactyl himself.
Huh?
I know what you're thinking. He can still talk and wear pants, though. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
He decides that in this form, he must choose to be good or evil, and he chooses evil. He decides to name himself Sauron, remembering the embodiment of evil in Lord of the Rings.
He name drops J.R.R. Tolkien here and says that that's where he's getting, like, how close are you getting to a lawsuit?
Maybe that's what avoids the lawsuit, is because you say...
This is an homage. Sauron, am naming myself Sauron in a homage to the famous character Sauron.
In the fiction, yes, I am reading about Sauron. I'm inspired by Sauron.
It's funny to think that there was a time before the Lord of the Rings renaissance that they've experienced in the last 20 years that you could probably ask a kid who Sauron was and they're like, oh, he's the pterodactyl from the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I would have said as a kid.
Yeah, very sad.
Back at the X-Mansion, the gang sees on the news that a Birdman is doing something, unclear, and that this must be some sort of mutant causing trouble. This enrages Warren, who, despite Scott's urges to lay low until heat has lowered on mutants a bit, changes into his old Avenging Angel costume and flies off to confront this bird. He quickly finds Sauron, dashing in for a fight, but then discovers some sort of horror in Sauron's eyes? To be continued. What?
Sorry,
Yeah.
can I just add a little clarity to what happened at the end here?
Mm-hmm.
Sauron says, I see that you can fly and you're very strong, but just look into my eyes. That's all I need to defeat you. And Warren says, okay, sure, mister. I'm sure looking into your eyes is going to be a huge problem. Oh my God, your eyes, your eyes.
Yeah.
Pretty classic.
Yeah. I mean, it's Angel, right? So he's like, yeah, sure, I'll just look into your eyes. And then, of course, he gets his head. Like, he just loses every fucking fight, man.
This is the same as when he narrated his own drowning.
Pat, what's the first few words of this issue?
Is this a Holy Hannah thing, Matt? I am trying to move past that.
It is not a Holy Hannah thing. The first few words of this issue.
What is the sound of evil?
Is that the Joe Rogan podcast?
Heyo. Is it Marilyn Manson?
Is it Rob Zombie?
Ooh, that guy loves evil.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah,
you seen his movies? He's pretty fucked up.
You believe he does that shit? I saw it's just movies, and I was like, "What the fuck, man?" It's like, I can't believe he's doing this.
I was like, "This is a documentary," and my buddy was like, "No."
I was like,
still fucked up.
I was like, dude, this is the most blood I ever saw in a movie. This rules. And my friend was like, you can't watch that much blood. And I watched all of it.
I loved it, even though there weren't dragons.
I closed my eyes only a little bit.
I usually watch dragon movies, but I'll also watch a Rob Zombie movie.
Here's what I love about fucking Carl Lycos being friends with Professor X. They both worked on Project Mutant together.
Yes.
Which is just like, this is just how Professor X names things. Like, Scott, do Plan H for hit the guy, hit the villain. Plan H.
I'm surprised he didn't name it Project M. But also, what is this project for? They're just a couple of dudes.
What were they working on? Yeah, just a doctor and just a guy, a former South American liberator.
I do have a friend who recently quit his job to, and this is all he'll reveal about it, build robots. He's like a marketing executive type, and he was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. I am going to build robots. And so that's what I picture here, is he and a friend of his both quit their jobs to start a robot company. And that's what I imagine these guys doing.
I have weirdly a similar story. I dated a woman months ago who claimed that she was working on research to prove that everything was energy. And that she was going to go travel the country to meet with different scientists to talk about how everything was energy.
Just the, like, I don't want to sound off on someone that you dated, but that is the first rung on the ladder of whooshy, goofy, spiritual stuff. Like,
it was very much, I'm abstracting it a little bit because I don't want to actually embarrass this person, but it is definitely like when you are in high school and read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance or something for the first time, and you're like, I just figured it all out.
Yes. Yeah.
Like when your friend tells you about quantum mechanics and you don't actually know anything about quantum mechanics. That is what I picture Carl Lycos and Professor X doing. Like they're just sitting around, just writing paper after paper about like, and I bet they can like shoot beams and stuff.
Yeah. And you have to picture it's the 50s. They're both huge nerds. They probably dress like Eugene from Grease.
And that, like, without any research, they draw like they're drawing genetic structures on a piece of paper, and then one of them just like draws a random line that goes off to nowhere, and the other one's like, oh.
So they haven't discovered the double helix yet. I don't know if that's actually true. Hang on, let's look that up because
we looked this up already, Pat.
When was the double helix discovered? February 28th, 1953. So if we assume this is more than 10 years before he started the X-Men, then they're operating without.
So they're looking at the double helix.
It would make more sense that they started this after the double helix was invented.
Yes,
right?
They're looking at the double helix. They're looking at a drawing of the double helix, and Professor X or Carl Lycos, either one of them reaches up and erases the T on one strand of taurine and writes X, and both of them sit back and they're like, oh. Okay, so there's some cool stuff about this issue. Number 1, Lorna Dane joins the X-Men, and her powers are back.
Full power, full blast. There was one panel where we found out that her powers were fading. But I guess we're not going to revisit that.
No, it's all fixed. Number 2, when they are at the beginning, when it's like, oh, what happened to all the mutants? I guess it's not the beginning, a couple pages in. What happened to all the mutants at the Sentinel base? They mentioned specifically no changeling.
Yes.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought he was an alien.
No.
He answered to an alien.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Just remember in that final fight, he kind of just disappeared. They made some sort of reference to, and Changeling got arrested too, or whatever.
Yeah, they took care of him off screen.
Yes, we never saw him again.
I guess that's interesting.
Why is he not here?
I didn't even think about it until they mentioned it, so it doesn't seem like a big deal to me.
At some point, they're talking about doctors, and Cyclops says, "You've been watching too much Ben Casey." I looked up Ben Casey. It's not interesting.
So did I. Yeah, it is not interesting at all. We're not even going to Google it yourself if you want to learn about it. That is the last thing we'll say about Ben Casey on this damn show.
Here's something else fascinating. We find out that Judge Chalmers' name is R.C. Chalmers. Here's another cool thing about this issue, Pat.
Yeah, hit me.
So Neal Adams has said that Sauron was supposed to be, they wanted to do a vampire issue.
Yes, because his hunger, to steal the life force of others to restore himself is very vampire legendy. Right.
The Comic Code Authority at the time would not allow vampires. It wouldn't allow vampires. It wouldn't allow zombies. I think it wouldn't allow maybe it did allow werewolves. No werewolves.
Fascists. No werewolves.
Here it is. Scenes dealing or instruments associated with Walking Dead, torture, vampires or vampirism, ghouls, cannibalism, and Pat, no werewolfism.
That's fucked up. The werewolf thing, that's not a satanic thing.
I know.
That's such a pure.
Yeah.
Is it even pagan in nature? It's.
You can do a were pterodactyl energy zombie. That's fine.
Matt, the word is wearodactyl. That is cool, though. That just, it is so reminiscent of a vampire. And then to say, okay, we can't use a vampire. Let's go pterodactyl.
Okay. Those are the cool things about this issue. Here's some weird things about this issue.
Okay.
There is... Okay. How... What's his name? R.C. Chalmers wraps up the Trask situation as he says he doesn't remember he's a mutant and he can never know again, because if he does, it will put him into such a state of shock. It might put him at risk for schizophrenia. Okay, if we're following the metaphor here, Pat.
Yeah.
This is like saying we can't ever tell him that one of his parents is, to follow your metaphor from last time, we can't ever tell him that one of his parents is Jewish. If he finds out that one of his parents is Jewish, he's gonna go fucking crazy and lose his whole mind.
I guess it kind of depends on his state of mind at this point, right? Does he still hate mutants? And if he finds out, like, if you are a neo-Nazi and you find out that one parent is Jewish, that's going to cause an existential crisis.
Right.
And
not gonna
so
drive you to schizophrenia.
Yeah, probably not. There's
this
definitely
scenario. That's this exact scenario.
There are definitely some deep misunderstandings of schizophrenia at this time. No, it is very strange. And yeah, it would probably be a shock to me if I found out that one of the many races that I hate was actually the race of one of my parents. It really disturbs me that you didn't laugh when I said one of the many races that I hate. I need that. I need everyone to know that that's funny. Yeah, can we go back to the Chalmers situation though? So okay. Scott is like, listen, Judge Chalmers, I know that you are the government agent responsible for pushing Trask's agenda and allowing Sentinels to patrol the country and round up mutants so that we can keep them in these stasis tubes.
Yes, yeah.
But you're the best person to leave all these mutants with. Please take care of them. I really appreciate that you put the medallion that drove Trask to his murderous rage back on him to keep everyone safe.
To keep everyone safe, yeah.
Even though when you removed it, he immediately stopped ranting about how evil mutants are and tried to stop the genocide that he was attempting to commit. It should be fine.
It'll be fine.
Just take care of these. Please don't hurt these mutants.
It's cool. Just let him go or something. I don't know.
Also, I know these are all legitimate killers and thieves because we're taking all the good ones with us. We're taking all the ones that should be in prison and leaving them with you. Don't hurt them.
And you're just like a guy. You're just like a guy who was really good at law school.
You're a judge.
You're a judge.
You're not a senator. You're not somebody with any sort of executive authority. So I'm sure
this will be fine.
You're the best person to sort all this legal stuff out.
I know you don't have any weapons. I know that you don't have any guards. I know there's no police or army here. But just make sure the blob goes to jail. Okay.
The Sentinels all flew into the sun. I'm pretty sure. I was trying to watch them as long as I could, but it hurts to look into the sun.
That's a good point. Can Cyclops stare at the sun?
Ooh, because of his 6 sunglasses?
Yeah.
Is ruby quartz? Does ruby quartz...
Or does he cut a little slit in them when there's a eclipse?
Does he drill one tiny hole? There's just a little speck of optic blast coming out through the front.
So, Warren Worthington is a real creep in this issue, and you meant to say that in these notes.
I did.
And what you wrote is, God, Warren is suck a dick right now.
I see that now.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's meant to say Warren is such a dick right now.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it is. Why does he keep calling himself avenging? Like, this is the second time he's done it. Stop!
We just learned about this in the second stories of the last series of issues.
Yeah.
And
now he won't stop doing it.
Yeah. With all the times that he's abandoned the X-Men, that he's promised he's going to leave the X-Men, you're telling me that he's never busted out this costume before and been like, you guys are calling me Avenging Angel now.
But you can borrow the new car my parents sent me, but make sure that you don't tell me what to do or I'm going to be Avenging Angel again.
His parents did say Scott's like, good thing Warren loaned us his, I think it's a Mustang or it's a muscle car.
Yeah, it's some muscle car that I've never heard of. It's like a Maverick or something. I don't know. A
Maverick. Here's a question though. What happened to the Rolls Royce? Did Charles have it buried with him?
Or did Hank and Bobby sell it for drugs?
Did they accidentally ride it off the pier? Statistically, it's most likely that they destroyed it somehow, right?
Yeah, definitely.
They destroy. Oh, we didn't even mention this. The little ripoff fantasticar that they're riding around in gets destroyed.
Every single plane that they have gets destroyed. So, Pat, do we have anything else to say about this issue, or do you want to tell me about...
Don't say it, because I do have one more thing to say about this. I do have a theory. So, a little hard to follow Sauron's story here and why what happens, but I do have a theory. I think he's a mutant. So he appears to fall into the Savage Land, right? We saw the Savage Land way back in the Stan Lee Jack Kirby run, and gets attacked by these pterodactyls. He gets scratched up by them. He comes back and seemingly has a power. I don't think he developed, like he caught a power from a pterodactyl. I don't think that's how this stuff works. I think he falls into the Savage Land, untouched land, still living in prehistoric times. You imagine there are prehistoric diseases there that humanity probably just doesn't have. The modern humanity doesn't have the immune system to deal with, because we haven't seen these in hundreds of thousands of years. He contracts one of these when he gets scratched by a pterodactyl, because it's just an open wound. It's going to happen. It works its way in very easily.
Okay.
He has the worst nightmares of his life, right? Which is just a very severe fever dream. This is all innate mutant power activates to save his life, which is absorbing the life force of others, because as soon as he accidentally does it to his dog, which is so heartbreaking, he's better. He recovers from this strange virus. And we know that these sort of things happen in a life-threatening situation, right? That
happened to Lorna, happened to Alex.
Yeah, this is when you're going to manifest those powers, when your body's fight or flight response recognizes that this is the very last option.
Okay. But why does he turn into a fucking pterodactyl, Pat?
So that is because he caught pterodactyl.
Okay, so anybody who gets scratched by a pterodactyl turns into a pterodactyl. They don't all get to suck energy off of people.
Yes, yeah, I think that's his mutant power. That and the hypno eyes. That seems to be innate too, but I guess that just comes later.
Here's why I'm excited about you telling us about the next issue. Because at the end of this issue, it says, next, the icy grip of death. Which is, something your parents should probably warn you about when you're a kid.
All right.
Can lower sensation, can lower your sensitivity later in life.
You're suggesting that teenagers are sticking their hands in the freezer before they do this?
I'm just saying, try a loose grip.
All right, Matt. Your plan to get me to move on to the next issue is success. Issue 61, Monsters Also Weep. Release date August 12th, 1969. Cover date October 1969. Matt, we are still in the summer of 69. This is post-Woodstock, though, right? This release, Woodstock was July.
Yeah, I mean, me and the boy. I can't remember the lyrics. Fuck! I wish I'd left the tab open.
What do you remember from Woodstock, Matt?
Oh man,
were you in that mud?
Yeah, it was the look. It was the worst night of my life. Everybody else around me was having fun. I ate a bad gummy bear. I was so sick.
Not a weed gummy bear, just a
bad gummy bear.
Spoiled gummy bear.
Yeah, I was so sick, and I could hear everybody having so much fun, and they were playing on that stage. I could barely hear it because I was so sick. I had to cover my little ears.
Everybody assumed you were covered in mud, but you were really just covered in your own sick.
Yeah, I rolled around in the mud to try and get the sick because they didn't have water around.
Right.
Wash off. So I would roll around in the mud like a pig. It was the worst. It was the worst weekend of my life.
Well, and then you picked up X-Men issue 61, Monsters Also Weep.
That was the only good part of the summer of 69 for me.
Edited by Stan Lee, written by Roy Thomas, drawn by Neal Adams, inked by Tom Palmer, lettered by Sam Rosen. You know the crew.
Our boy.
Warren. What?
Our boys.
Our boys.
Our boys.
Warren is fighting for his life. He's in an aerial battle with 3 flying bug or lizard demons. Or is he? He soon realizes that these are illusions, and after some fancy physical and mental maneuvering, he's able to dispel the visions.
Pat, he says, oh, I thought Sauron was bad, but this is 1,000 times worse. So, like a bird with 3 beaks to him is 1,000 times worse. Well, it's one of 3, so I guess it's 333 times worse.
Each individual bug, lizard, bird, demon figure is 333 times worse
than a man who can suck my energy out and give me hallucinations with his eyes and also is a pterodactyl. A bird with 3 beaks is 333 times worse than that.
He's grappling with all of this, Matt, but it's just the start of his problems. In real life, he's still locked in combat with Sauron, far above the earth, and those visions were the result of Sauron's powerful hypnosis eyes. The X-Men show up to assist, trading blows and mental blasts until Sauron feels his powers begin to fade. He quickly hypnotizes Warren again and commands him to grab him, keep him from falling to the ground, and fly him back to his office. All before the rest of the X-Men can see his transformation back into Dr. Lycos.
That moment is also very funny because the X-Men are talking to themselves. They're like, What's he doing? This is strange. Something's got into Warren. And Warren yells back, nothing's got into me. I'm fine. Okay, well, we were talking amongst...
No.
This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. We were talking amongst ourselves. I guess you could hear.
I really didn't think you could hear that.
Nothing has happened to me.
Back at his office, Dr. Lycos' childhood love, Tanya, has returned. She had a premonition that something was terribly wrong, came back to check on and confess her forbidden love for her childhood hero. At this very moment, the X-Men return to pick up Alex, who is coming to and feels fantastic. No one suspects that Lycos is also Sauron, the beast they were just fighting. Who else shows up at that very moment but Herr Anderson, Tanya's father? Yeah.
In English, that's Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I speak a little German, so it just comes out naturally sometimes. Herr Anderson has forbidden Tanya to marry Lycos due to his being poor. He just doesn't come from a rich family. They argue, it gets really heated. Herr Anderson demands that Tanya leave and never come back to Lycos, and she tearfully complies. The X-Men stand around and watch all of this unfold without any shame.
It's so weird!
Which seems to, after they leave, drive Lycos further into his madness. Back at the mansion.
Yeah.
Back at the mansion, Lorna explains that Warren just flew back in through the window and has been catatonic ever since. But as soon as Scott mentions taking him to Dr. Lycos, Warren becomes hysterical and tries to run away. Hank slaps the shit out of him, knocks him out cold. Glad someone finally did it.
Yeah.
The X-Men go to find Dr. Lycos, while Alex and Lorna hang back to go through Xavier's old notes on Lycos for some reason, where they discover that he's actually a non-mutant variant. An old note of Xavier's.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I think my mutant theory still stands. I think that this is him fucking around in the 50s before he understood anything about mutants.
They were just making up mutant stuff.
Yeah. This one's a mutant. This one's a non-mutant variant. At that same very moment, though, Lycos breaks in and zaps Lorna's life force, transforming himself back into Sauron.
He says it's because she's monologuing to herself and mentions she's a mutant.
Yeah, he's like, thank you very much for mentioning to no one in particular that you're a mutant. It's exactly what I'm looking for. Sauron immediately flies right back to Herr Anderson and Tanya, who are terrified at first, but then recognize the voice as Lycos's. I hadn't pictured that, and I know who Sauron is. I've seen him in several comics. I always put a strange voice to him, like I choose evil.
Hey, instead, it's like I choose evil.
Right.
Like, hey, beware my mighty claws.
Yes, I am Sauron. So we're back in Herr Anderson and Tanya's hotel room. Sauron is getting very menacing when the X-Men appear, somehow now aware that Sauron is Lycos. It's very unclear how they learned this, but somewhere between the journey to his office and then to the hotel here, they figure it out. They prevent him from murdering Herr Anderson, at which point Sauron starts questioning his morals and wondering if evil was the right choice to make.
I wonder.
He flies off to think. He has just enough juice to fly himself back to the spot where he rescued Tanya as a child before transforming back into the humble Dr. Lycos. He does some serious introspection and comes to the conclusion that he needs to die as the only way to quench his thirst for life forces. But
actually, that's pretty good.
It's a noble choice. It seems like he has reverted and isn't going to go with evil.
My initial reaction was to laugh, but it's actually kind of a touching moment. Not that funny.
But it's funny when he tries to run off the cliff as soon as Tanya shows up. She knew where he would go. Lycos warns her to stay away before he's overcome with the hunger for her life force. He finds himself toying with the idea of just zapping her life force. Tanya runs after him as he runs off the cliff. Lycos does jump off. Tanya tries to follow, but she is stopped by an ice shield. The X-Men have followed her here, save her, but could not save Lycos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because he decided to do evil. He was like, oh, do good or do evil?
I've committed to evil, but was that the right choice? Morally?
I can't decide between do good or do evil.
Yeah, he's just a confused, angry man.
Yeah. Well, okay, Pat.
That's who we're dealing with here.
Pat, what I want to know about Sauron, what was the deal with his messenger? Okay, so last issue, when he becomes Sauron, he's wearing a messenger bag, which it never gets used, never gets referenced.
Oh, yeah.
But this issue, just like somewhere in the middle of his fight, the messenger bag just disappears.
Then it's gone.
Yeah. He lost his messenger bag.
You can't fight very effectively with a messenger bag on. That is
right.
Impediment for sure.
What did he have in it?
Documents. A folder.
These are all my patients' files.
I've lost all my paperwork.
Oh, this is a major HIPAA violation. All my paperwork is scattered across New York.
My taxes. There's another. So this calls back to something earlier in the episode. There is an extremely awkward moment for Bobby where Alex says, "Me and Lorna will hang back and look through Professor Xavier's old notes to see if we can find any clues." And Bobby said, that better be all you're doing with my chick," which is questionable in itself. But then Lorna says, I'm not your chick. Were you under the impression?
Whoops.
And I'll tell you, that drives her right into Alex's arms. They're developing.
She has the hots for Alex.
A little.
She says something about it. She's like, "Why does he make my heart pound?"
Yeah, I mean, he's a Summers. There's good stock.
Summers are fucking hot. Yeah, they're good stock. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, entire family tree. Like the Corsair is the dad, Cable is the kid.
Right.
Like just a bunch of hotties.
They keep that head of hair well into their old age too.
Yeah. I love when when Angel figures out that he's hallucinating the 1,000 times worse hallucinations. He jumps. He's like, somebody must be using mirrors.
What? You're in the sky. You're 1,000 feet above the ground.
Yeah, he just was like, look into my eyes. Then immediately you started hallucinating.
There's also...
Oh no, he did mirrors at me.
Do you remember how he figures out that it's a hallucination?
That he doesn't get scratched.
Yeah, he gets hit by one of them and it doesn't affect him. So if this were a real fight...
He's so used to getting his ass kicked.
Yeah, it's like, that's usually very painful. It happens a lot. I would know. And then his plan, here's why he loses every fight. He's like, I'm pretty sure these are some sort of hallucination. Let me fly directly into one of their mouths to prove it.
It's so true. That is his plan every time.
Yeah.
Let me fly directly at it. It's fine.
Glad he got slapped. That was satisfying.
Here's this thing about Lorna, right? Is she joined the X-Men several issues ago. She says it. She's like, my home is with the X-Men. And they're like, okay, Lorna, you can come join us. And then they go out on missions while she stays home and literally makes sandwiches.
Yes. Well, you have magnetic powers, so you're probably pretty handy in the kitchen, right? Jean does it with her telekinesis all the time.
She's like, I can help superhero stuff. Did you clean out the fireplaces yet? No? Okay, well, why don't you take care of that, and then maybe we can talk about the superhero stuff.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Why don't you help Alex look through notes? Because he's really sick. He needs his rest.
And, also... If you get a chance, there's some laundry to be folded. We're not saying you have to. It's just, it would be really big help because, we're out saving the day and you're staying home. Okay. Well, we have one more issue here, Pat. Would you love to hear about it or hate to hear about it?
I'd be fine with it.
All right. Well,
I'd be just fine with it.
I'll tell you this. It was released on September 16th, 1969.
Ooh. No longer the summer of 69.
It was the fall of 69.
Technically, we're 5 days away from the fall of 60. Technically, we have 5 days left in the summer of 69.
It's issue number 62, Strangers in a Savage Land. Edited by Stan Lee, written by Roy Thomas, penciled by Neal Adams, inked by Tom Palmer, lettered by Sam Rosen. Last we saw Warren Worthington III. He was passed out on a couch in the X-Mansion, remember?
Right, yeah.
But now, suddenly, he's flying around in an Arctic wasteland, fighting pterodactyls.
What?
Antarctic wasteland, I guess. One good knock to the head, and Angel falls into the Antarctic canyon as he flashes back to the past few hours. I guess we'll find out. After waking up on his couch and conferring with Alex and Lorna, he decides to go after Carl Lykos. Arriving at Lykos' office, he finds only the aggrieved father of Lykos' would-be fiancée, Tanya. Herr Anderson, you might know him as.
Mr. Anderson.
I guess he flies south. He finds Tanya. I guess he finds her the moment after the X-Men left, and she doesn't say anything about it. But anyway, so he does that, then he loses a fight with dinosaur birds, and then plummets through some rocky hole in the ground into some kind of jungle. His body is then found by some kind of frogman wearing a metal harness and his white-haired boss.
Yes.
Who declares that Angel is dead!
This is the moment I knew this was going to be a good issue, Matt. We have a freaky little frogman and some strange silver-haired man, and they are both wearing cybernetics.
Also, your favorite thing, Angel's like actually dead now.
Yeah, Angel dead. Perfect.
Angel dead. All right.
Let's move on from him.
Great start. Meanwhile, the rest of the X-Men are also in some kind of jungle fighting a T-Rex that's only marginally better than Jack Kirby's. Cyclops blasts him in the fucking mouth, but is suddenly snatched away by the big hunky arm of Ka-Zar.
Oof.
The X-Men are in the Savage Land, Patrick.
We are back.
We're back, baby.
My little crush, Ka-Zar.
Ka-Zar, no time for it now. That now's the gang, which leads to a pretty brutal but short fight in which Ka-Zar backhands Iceman and knocks the shit out of Beast. He and his pet saber-toothed tiger, Zabu, then run away to continue their mission, whatever it was, which turns out to be spying on some weird idiot and a group of swamp savages. Hey, Pat.
Yeah.
Can you describe this weird idiot's costume for me?
Yes, Matt. So, imagine a cloth diaper that has like shoulder straps on it, and that's how it's held up, right? And now that you're picturing that, picture it pink.
Okay.
And then wrap a purple utility belt around not your waist, not your hips, but like where your kidneys are.
Okay, all right.
Add a cape. But the shoulders of that purple cape should be almost like flower petals, like giant flower petals, and your head is the what's the center of a flower called?
Stamen.
And your head is the stamen. Is that's the inside part of the flower where the pollen forms?
I think so.
We're not geneticists.
we're no Carl Lykos.
And then to top it off, imagine. You know when you see a knight without his helmet on and he's got like a chainmail,
a hauberk,
sort of a cowl,
a hauberk.
I don't know that word.
Oh, maybe that's the shirt part. I don't know what the top part is.
A halberd, like the weapon.
No, hauberk.
That's
hauberk.
You're making that up.
Hauberk.
Anyway, stop shouting hauberk at me.
Hauberk. I guess they just call it a cowl.
It looks like a cowl that is unattached, like as if it's taped to his bald head, and it's got a widow's peak forming on his forehead.
What color is this?
Pink. The cowl is also pink.
So all of it's pink.
He is entirely pink and purple, and then he's got strange blue hypno eyes.
All right. So that's, what do you want to call this guy before because I just call him idiot in this thing, but I don't want to keep saying that word. So like, what word would you give him?
I mean, he's a swamp savage. So
Mark. It's like very Mark. Okay. So, seeing that they've captured some of the tribe of water people, Kazar leaps from the tree and clocks Mark in the face. Mark uses some kind of hypnotic power to make Kazar dizzy, and the swamp people tackle him. But before things get too rough, the X-Men arrive to save him.
Woo!
Meanwhile, that white-haired man from earlier has been putting Angel's body in a cryogenic chamber in his lab. Also, by the way, they're in the Savage Land too. He is attempting to bring Angel back to life from the cellular level upwards. While he ponders if he can do it, the Frogman and a gang of weird freakos all cheer him on. After a few moments, Angel wakes up wearing a brand new costume.
Yeah, they must have undressed him and redressed him while he was unconscious. No one mentions it.
Yeah. Just then, Mark from earlier runs in and is apparently named Equilibrius, so we can get rid of Mark.
Oh, I missed that.
He was apparently out leading the army of swamp men on the white-haired man's orders. When he describes the attackers, the white-haired man seems to instantly know that they were the X-Men. This makes Angel suspicious, but because the man saved his life, Angel pledges his service to him, even against the X-Men. Fucking Angel. Kazar allows one of the swamp men to flee and begins to hint to the X-Men that something bad is going on in the Savage Land. As they run somewhat, this is the one problem with Neal Adams and Roy Thomas, is that a lot of times people are just like being active in a way we have no idea why.
Yeah.
Like nobody says, it's just people are running in a direction and we're just supposed to assume they know where they're going. As they run somewhere, they hear a man playing a set of panpipes. This summons a big red monster from the waters of like what it looks like a hot spring, looks like a series of tide pools that are steaming like a hot spring. The X-Men fight it while Kazar grabs the piper and shoves the panpipes into his mouth, causing the big monster to run away. Back at the lab, the white-haired man introduces Angel to his band of Savage Land mutants, is what he calls them. Gaza, the blind giant who can see mentally. Amphibious, the little freaky frogman.
Yeah.
Barbarous, who has 4 arms. Lupo, who I guess talks to animals. Unclear. And then Brainchild, which I wrote Brian Child. which is 11. Brainchild's a big baby man who's good with computers. And Piper, who for some reason isn't there at the moment. Angel tells them he can talk to tells the white-haired man, everyone, he's like, I can go talk to the X-Men. We can figure out a peace deal. And Kazar, they're all friends of mine. I can figure out a peace deal. It's fine. So he flies off, only to leave the white-haired man to smile that his plan is all coming together and tap his familiar-looking helmet. The helmet of Magneto! Whoa. So this is why he couldn't be a robot, I guess.
Right. He's been in the Savage Land. So this makes it immediately clear, right, that Roy Thomas and Neal Adams were just like, okay, let's toss away this other Magneto plot. This wasn't him because he's been in the Savage Land.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which I love that they kind of plant that 2 issues earlier. They say, surprise, this wasn't Magneto at all.
Yeah.
And now here's their reason for it.
Huh. I mean, they could have just had Magneto get away from the Sentinel. Whatever. It's very strange. Or just have him not be there. Just have it just be Mesmero. And Mesmero saying, like, Magneto left.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Just have Mesmero go like, "Oh,
here in months."
I wonder where my leader Magneto has been.
There's also we mentioned that that the X-Men, of course, attack Kazar just for being rude to them,
right? Because Kazar tells them to be quiet.
Yeah, so they
you must keep silent, and Cyclops says, "What's wrong? Are we keeping your dinosaurs awake?"
Right.
Fuck yeah, Scott. What a good line.
That's a good zinger. But then he points at them and he's like, no, take this seriously. And Bobby says, don't point at me, and freezes his hand. But Ka-Zar has been thinking about this. Clearly, the X-Men haven't thought about Ka-Zar since they left the Savage Land years ago. Ka-Zar has been thinking about this every day since, because as soon as the X-Men attack him, he's like, knock it off. And he just slaps Bobby. He's
backhands Bobby so hard. It like knocks him down.
He's prepared for Hank's attack. Like he is measuring Hank's velocity and just throws a quick fist out to bounce him backwards. Knows that Hank will recover quickly and has Zabu, his saber-toothed tiger, right there to make sure Hank stays on the ground. Like he is planned for this moment for the last 3 years.
He's like, I'm going to meet those guys again. I just know it. And here's exactly how I'm going to kick the shit out of them.
Yeah, those nosy little pricks. I know they'll be back.
The first step of his plan was to knock Warren down, too. Because, like, that's everybody's first step. Yeah. And he's probably a little pissed that Warren's not there. And he's like, fuck, I had a perfect plan to throw a rock at that winged guy.
I made a net just for this.
I keep a net on me at all times. Is one weakness.
Speaking of the last time the X-Men were in the Savage Land, Matt, we see the swamp savages.
Yeah.
Where's Magor the Killer, King of the Man-Apes? Is he okay?
He calls himself King of the Mayonnaise, but sometimes the mayonnaise is king of you.
Ooh, sometimes the mayonnaise is spoiled.
Yeah, he's gotta stay home. Magor the Killer's got to stay home today. Sorry I can't go out with you. Hey, everybody. Sorry, swamp savages. I wish I could go out and kidnap a water people with you, but I got a little bit of tummy troubles.
Magor the Killer, tummy hurt.
Magor the Killer need lay down. Magor the Killer need ginger ale.
Bring Magor Tums. We get some good replacements for him, though. We get Amphibious. I really like the Piper. That guy's a little freak. He's
a
so
weird little
spindly.
Freak. I can't wait to learn more about these little freaks in the next issue. I'm sure we will, right? Next episode. There's no way they introduce us to 5 little freaks and then they're not like all over the place next issue.
The X-Men are gonna just slam these guys. They're gonna absolutely.
Ka-Zar's there. Ka-Zar's got to punch these little freaks in their little freak faces, right? Like, there's no way it doesn't happen.
Glistening.
I bet Zabu eats one.
Ooh. I hope he eats the little frog man.
Yeah, the little frog man's little frog legs sticking out of Zabu's mouth. Also, Equilibrius.
Yeah.
Instant loser league candidate, right?
Absolutely. He's got hypnotize and he can't use them to his advantage.
He hasn't been. He didn't. He just had to run away. Why is he wearing that diaper thing? What is he doing?
Yeah, what is this outfit, man?
And none of the other little freaks look like that. So he made that outfit himself.
Yeah. The rest of them are just wearing like cybernetic enhancements.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He's
and
like,
he's
no.
Ooh,
I got
it.
My adult cloth diaper.
How do I dye shit? How do I dye something pink in the Savage Land?
You guys got any like berries or
hibiscus?
Yeah. Let me talk about how fucked up what Cyclops does to that T-Rex is. He, instead of just blasting him, instead of just getting it over with, he blasts him in the mouth. Mentions that he'll need dental work because he just blew all his teeth out. What, dental work?
You don't have to say blast him in the mouth like that with that tone of voice.
How would you describe it? What does he do?
No, I'm saying those words are fine. Cyclops blasted him in the mouth. But what you said was he blasts him in the mouth. Like, you don't have to say it that way.
Okay, fine. Cyclops blasts him in the mouth. That would you prefer? Anyway, knocks all his teeth out. This is a T-Rex. He's so fucked up. He acts like he's doing him a kindness by not killing him. You have damned this T-Rex to death by starvation.
This T-Rex is going to starve to death.
He's so anti-science. Remember when he just started shooting pterodactyls out of the sky as soon as he saw them?
Yeah. Pew. This guy hates dinosaurs. This guy hates dinosaurs. He only wants to torture them. Fuck, this issue was good, dude. Fuck, these issues were so good. God. Every one of these issues was fucking good, man.
Yeah. These were killer. This twist ending, too. It legitimately got me. I did not see the return of Magneto in the Savage Land coming.
And good on Roy Thomas, right? For not... This is how it ends. Magneto is walking around monologuing to himself after Angel leaves. And he doesn't say, he'll never suspect that I, the man who saved his life, is truly Magneto. Like, he doesn't say that.
Yeah.
He just walks over, puts his hand on his helmet and says, perhaps it is true what they say. Perhaps clothes do make the man. Fuck yes, Roy Thomas.
It's so subtle.
You did it for once in your little life.
Once in your
life.
Pretty long life.
Yeah, pretty long and pretty accomplished life. Once in your big impressive life. For once in your big impressive life, Roy Thomas, you held back and you were like, okay, this is all I need.
Yeah, he is, and this is sort of just along the whole run. I think we talked about this last episode, but he is letting Neal Adams' art work.
Yes, which he never did before.
Yeah. He was always, I'm sure we've complained about this to death, but he used to just fill entire panels with redundant, useless dialogue.
And he even does this at the beginning of this series of issues, right? Like the Sentinel bursts in and Bobby has to say, oh my God, it's the Sentinels. And Beast has to say, they smashed right through the window.
Sure.
By the end here, people aren't doing that.
Yeah. Even, he does that, but then you turn the page and it is entirely narrated, or it's not even narrated, it's just overshadowed by the news broadcast.
Oh, in that first one. Yeah. It's really, they really make a good team. Could you have imagined in the middle of that desert wasteland that was the first Roy Thomas run, that later you would be reading Roy Thomas and being like, yes, and yes.
Standing up in my chair and clapping after I read this shit.
These are so good. There's almost no issue, listeners, that we have recommended to you.
Sure.
But this is the first time I'd be like, hey, if you want to read some classic X-Men, this is where you start reading.
Yeah. In the mid to late 50s.
Yeah. I think even start with 58. Like, you're starting at the after a cliffhanger kind of, but I think it's not the first Neal Adams issue, but I think 58 is where to start.
Yeah. God damn. That is my final thought on this run, Matt. Fucking
yeah.
Damn. Wow.
My thought is good.
Rules.
I wrote rules and is good. That's what I did. So we're not getting we are. I was going to say we're not getting a lot of character moments, but we are. Everybody is fully kind of in character and fully sort of understood. And Hank and Lorna aren't quite there yet, but they are getting there. And even this Magneto is so much more Magneto than just the ranting, raving lunatic from previous issues.
Yeah. Very calm and measured and giving his plan time to work out. He's a more Machiavellian Magneto.
It's just so impressive. I keep starting a sentence.
And then
I keep going,
I'm disrupting you with my incredible portmanteaus.
No, I'm saying I start a
Okay.
sentence. I am so awed that I keep starting a sentence and keep going, it's, and then not knowing how to finish it because I'm just trying to say this rules.
Yeah, this was great.
Do you think if we had been reading good comics and then read these, though, we would be feeling this way? Or do you think this is just like we are? We have been crawling through the desert. We are so thirsty.
No, I think these hold up. I made the Frank Miller comparison early on, and I stand by it. I think this is ahead of its time, and it holds up with like some of my absolute favorite comic book runs.
I think Frank Miller is a really good comparison to Neal Adams. One I've never heard before, but the more I look at the more I look at his art after you say that, the more I'm really understanding the through line between the two. Okay, Patrick.
Yes.
I am a little short on time here. So, how quickly can you sell me on this steal and deal?
Oh boy, Matt. So I can read through the copy pretty quick, but the math might take a little while. Let's let's dig in.
Okay.
The dollar comparison from 1969 to today is slightly tougher than 1967. Enjoy an exciting, romantic, impressive look anytime. You know how, Matt?
No.
By having the look men envy and women admire whenever you choose. Now you can have the experience of wearing sideburns, mustache, or Van Dyke that is so real looking your friends will think it is your very own.
No.
Competition tough? Want to impress your employer or girlfriend? Want to look older or younger or different?
No.
Cooler, sharp? Do you miss the attention you should be getting? Try a masculiner Van Dyke sideburns and or mustache. Now, I'm going to skip through here because it really doesn't... It relies on the art to do the explaining here. This is just an adhesive mustache, goatee, or sideburns.
Pat, these are just you glue sideburns or a goatee or mustache onto your own face.
Yes. And not as a costume. The sell here is that it will look real. And to illustrate it, they've chosen a man with light hair and pasted dark facial hair all over his face.
It's...
Even the illustration doesn't look real. It doesn't make it look good.
They say that you should do this to impress your girlfriend. Okay. If I was dating somebody and I had a completely bare face one day and the next day show up and I'm wearing fake sideburns, they're not going to be like, ooh. They're going to be like, what the fuck are you doing, Matt? Can you take those off?
Is something wrong with you?
It does not. Are you in hiding? Is everything okay? Are the police looking for you? It doesn't matter. Even if somehow these look attractive on you, your girlfriend is not going to say, ooh, leave on the fake sideburns. Please wear those every day.
It doesn't mention here, but if you had to guess, what do you think these are made of?
Horsehair.
Horsehair? I was thinking horsehair.
Yeah.
So, Pat Steele and Deal, we got to talk price here. Van Dyke, which is a goatee. Dick Van Dyke never did this, but $3 for the goatee, $2 for the mustache, $3 for sideburns. So that's $8 altogether. Matt, if you were to buy all three at once, how much do you think you would pay? How much would you be willing to pay?
For the Van Dyke, a mustache, and a sideburns.
Yeah.
Also, that it's not Dick Van Dyke. It's Flemish painter Anthony Van Dyke. You know this.
Right. Anthony Van Dyke.
Okay, how much would I pay for a fake beard, a fake mustache, and fake sideburns?
And
I would
sideburns.
Literally, I would, at a dollar store, I would expect to get 2 of each in a package for $1.
Better than that, Matt. All three, $6.
Okay, I would not pay $6 for this in 2025 money.
What? You're essentially getting the mustache for free at that rate.
But how much is this in 1969 money?
Okay, so this is where it gets tricky. I think what we need to do is take $6 and multiply it. So it is approximately, before it was 10%. The $1967 was 10% of the 2025 dollar. Right now, it's about 11.4%. 69, the dollar went up a little bit. In 2025, the dollar went down a little bit. So we end up with, what are we going to do? 1 point something comes to $6.68 in today's money. That can't be right.
No. Yeah, that can't be right.
That's not right.
Wait a second, Pat. $1 is equal to what?
$1 would be equal to $8 and change.
Oh, well then you just multiply 6 by $8 and something.
$51. $51, Matt.
$51
for only $51
for one fake mustache, one fake sideburns, and one fake beard
that you have to glue on.
$1. It doesn't come with the glue?
It doesn't actually say. It says it adheres securely.
Pat, this is the worst deal and deal yet.
This is... I clearly didn't have a great handle on the math when I first tried to figure out if this was a steal or a deal.
This is a horrible... This is about the worst thing that you could have spent your money on out of anything we've pulled up yet. And one of them was just give us your inventions for free.
Can that... Well, okay. Does this change your mind at all? Free, complete instructions on how to best wear your Van Dyke mustache or sideburns.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to Mutant Menace. Be sure to like and subscribe on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to participate in Pat's email corner, you email us mutantmenacepod@gmail.com. Is that right, Pat?
That's right. Our hot new segment.
And then you can find us on Instagram, Mutant Menace Pod. And thank you to Krills Wilson for our intro and outro music. Thank you to Julia Selly for the voice of Trish Tilby. And Pat.
Yes.
What is it we say at the end of every single episode when we sign off?
Well, as always, folks, please remember, it is dangerous to mock Kazar.
And from now on, he won't look cross-eyes at a three-toed sloth.